Hey, how's it going? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to the channel. So in today's very special video, we're going to be taking an exclusive look at Total War Three Kingdoms, the up and coming Total War game set in China around the period of the Three Kingdoms. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys think of the gameplay, because it definitely has made me get a little bit more hyped up than I was previously when I actually got hands on. So what you're going to be able to see today is you're going to be seeing a little nice battle intro cinematic, and you also get to see more of the campaign map and some of the story of the clan that we're playing, or the faction we're playing. As well as that, I'm going to be talking through this really cool campaign mechanic called Spies. It doesn't sound as cool as it actually is. It's actually really awesome, and I think it's going to make the campaign just flow and be really interesting. So we're going to talk about that like midway through the video whilst we're moving troops. So if you're interested in that, then just obviously stick around. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of it. I will mention as well that this was my first battle playing. I wanted to show you guys my first experience, so yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy that, and we'll jump straight into the campaign intro and then the battle.
China is divided. It is a rich and fertile land where harmony once ruled and may yet again. But now, the once proud capital of Luoyang lies in ruins, and all along the Great Yellow River, a terrible conflict rages. Dong Zhuo, the tyrant who once held China in his iron grip, is beset on all sides. A coalition of warlords has formed to defy his rule. The wise chancellor Cao Cao, the noble Liu Bei, and the great general Sun Jian have combined forces to thwart him at every turn. However, it is a marriage of convenience. Even now, the cunning Cao Cao looks beyond the fall of Dong Zhuo to his own future conquests. He has planted a spy in the court of his ally, Sun Jian, south of the Yangtze River, and watches for his opportunity to strike. Lady Sun, Sun Jian's noble daughter and one of his finest generals, leads her army in the east. Around her, she feels 1,000 unknown eyes watching. There is a rustling in the trees and a dark secret in the mountains. The trap is set.
It is quiet here, brother. Too quiet for my tastes. Something feels wrong. Shh! There! Movement in the tree line. An ambush is imminent. We must be ready. If we cross the river, we could escape through the southern gates. Or we could attempt to survive the ambush through force of arms. This hill would make a good defensive position en route, should more forces arrive. Prepare for battle, brother, and may your blade strike true!
There we have it, some pretty awesome cinematics to get your blood pumping and ready for this Three Kingdoms battle as I get ready to pause it to set up my formation for the ambush. Hey, it was my first time playing, you know, I wanted to take stock. But hey, one of the first things you're going to notice in Three Kingdoms is that you now have multiple generals leading soldiers in your armies. And this is going to go ahead and create a really nice dynamic, I feel, of really valuing your characters. Because you can have, you know, one main general, and I believe it's 2 or 3 other like lieutenant side generals. All will have their own kind of relationship with one another, which I really dig. But the main thing is as well is you can kind of have, you know, Lu Wang defending the right flank and holding back with his elite bodyguard of heavy spears, and then you'll have another character on the other flank as well doing another thing. And I think this will just help create a lot more interesting stories, as well as that characters have really huge relationships now, not only in battle but also on the campaign map. So having all these multiple generals, you can have so many different storylines interlude with one another, and I think it'll just kind of act as a real nice dynamic battle. Also, I should mention just how goddamn good the game does look. They've done a great job at just building a nice atmosphere for this battle. You can see that the fire arrows are burning the trees as I throw more and more of my soldiers in as the enemy come pouring out of the woods. It's just a really nice, nicely designed battle, and it's probably one of the reasons that Creative Assembly did decide to go ahead and show off a night battle with this engagement, which I got to fight. I also really do dig how the soldiers fight. When they do engage, they stick their flags down in the ground as like a prelude to this is where we make our stand. I think it's really cool seeing this because to me, you know, as a Westerner, stuff like this does really, you know, scream out at me and, you know, really do show me that this is more of a, you know, a Chinese-esque battle, which is really cool. As well as that, you'll be able to see later on in the engagement, oh, right here, I use her Harp Seeker missile, which is basically like a long-range archer shot because she's a multi-general, she can do lots of things. And she basically just shoots out this huge arrow, which we'll see more of later. And if it hits someone like this guy, who is a strategist, you can tell that by he's got like that fan. So he's basically meant not for fighting, whereas she is a Vanguard class, I believe, so she's really meant to get stuck in there. So yeah, if she hits the strategist with that arrow, she's basically just going to straight up one-bang him. And the strategist is just going to run away and try and flee for his life because he's just not going to stand up to a general like her who's just a Vanguard. She's very deadly in hand-to-hand combat, and you can dismount her and just throw her in with the troops and do just as much damage, which is something I really like, that you can dismount generals and stuff. I think she's going to pull out our Heat Seeker in a second, but you just can't see it. I'm also rotating around my cavalry as well, charging the river. There you go. Unfortunately, we did miss. I think she gets 3 charges of that. And as I said, they're very powerful. They'll straight up just one-bang the strategist class if she gets a direct hit. And the other ones might be a little bit tanky, but it's great to set up for duels against characters you might not be able to win. And again, we'll see lots of duels in a little bit later on. So duels are very interesting because they are affected by the campaign stats. What you've interacted with the characters beforehand, whether you've won multiple battles, whether you've lost multiple battles beforehand, that'll all feed in. And if you end up getting a nemesis, which for this battle everyone's a nemesis, you actually end up fighting to the death. But quite a few other duels, maybe this is the first time you're meeting a character and he's never done anything to you, he will himself actually, you know, just give up. He'll retreat. He'll say, you won this one, I'm going to flee out of here. And the character will live to fight another day, but he will build that relationship with the general that beat him. You know, he'll be like, oh, I lost that, and now I envy you. I'm going to get you back one day. And maybe then in the next battle, he'll be more likely to fight to the death or something. So there's multiple outcomes of these duels, and each of these duels will have a really big impact on how the battle is fought and how future battles and even, you know, stuff on the campaign map is effective. So whilst I'm leaving my troops now, I really want to talk about one of the coolest features, I think, at least, I mean, I don't know what the whole game's going to be like, but at least one of the really cool features that I found out about while on my trip to Creative Assembly, and that is called spies. So generals are going to go ahead and, well, the way you can recruit generals is going to be global. So, you know, every single, you know, couple of turns, you're going to get new generals appearing, kind of rotating round. Some will be available, some won't. And every faction can pick from that pool. So if another faction sees, oh, I really like that general, I'm going to pick him up, I then won't be able to get him because the AI has picked him up and taken him away from me. However, what I can do is I can stick my own loyal generals into that pool as a spy, and then the AI might decide, oh, that guy's really good, I'm going to go ahead and grab him, and that's going to take him into the enemy faction, or the AI faction, because they might not be enemies. And then that general is now going to become a spy for me. The AI is going to completely control that general to an extent on the campaign map. However, I'm going to have a new interface where I can go ahead and, you know, use this general to infiltrate the enemy ranks, rise up. Maybe I'm going to leave him alone for 5 turns, let him win a few battles. And that's going to cause him to maybe get better positions in the enemy war councils and stuff, work his way up. And then I can go ahead and do actions with that general who is actually in the enemy faction. And I can do stuff like, you know, maybe I'm at war with that faction, and right before the eve of battle, I get him to turn tail and join my side. or I could get him to incite a massive civil war to destabilize the enemy faction. Them actions are really top tier, and they're going to be expensive to do, and you know, really, really difficult. But I can also do other minor activities, you know, maybe by just like decreasing public order, or you know, inciting a rebellion, like a small rebellion in the corner of the empire. Maybe, you know, reducing the loyalty of the other lords, which are going to be a lot cheaper. And the way that the spy resources work is that every single action you do whilst in an enemy court is going to cost you your cover rating. And as you lose this cover rating, you're more likely to be discovered, and then you can be killed, you can be executed and killed at the same thing, you can be tortured for information, etc. So you want to try and keep that cover level as high as possible to keep your dude safe in the enemy empire. But what's interesting is that each action is going to cost a set amount, so it can be from, you know, 18 to 40 cover rating you'll lose by doing this. So it's kind of, you have to gamble if you're teetering on the edge, which is a really, really cool feature, and I definitely do like that. So yeah, that's kind of like the basis of how the spy system's going to work. I think it's going to be really interesting, especially in multiplayer. Imagine in multiplayer having your friends trying to seek spies into your court to disrupt and take away armies and incite rebellions. It's going to make you lose some goddamn friends, that's for sure. You know, when my entire empire crumbles because this general I've been working on since the beginning of the game has suddenly decided to go ahead and join the other faction. It's just going to be absolutely crazy. And yeah, I think it's going to definitely kill some friendships in multiplayer for sure. It's just a really cool mechanic. I definitely dig it. So back to the battle, we have now managed to make our way onto the hill as we try and push our way to the extraction point. As well as that, you can see this unit right here, which I just clicked on, is called a hybrid unit. So basically that unit can shoot their bows, they can pull out their swords and get stuck in. They can also do both. They can have the front lines form infantry, and then the back lines go ahead and form archers. So you have a multitasking unit. The front lines are fighting, the second lines are going to be whipping their bows out and shooting. You're going to see it right now. So you can see the back lines, I believe, are pulling out their bows, and then that front line has formed a nice little shield wall so that both units can also shoot and hold their line at the same time. I've definitely noticed that that formations are a big thing from my time playing. A lot of units can form a lot of cool formations, which I think are really awesome. And there we have it right now. I've gone ahead and initiated a duel to the death. So my general is going to be fighting this. I think this is like a tank class, whereas mine is more of like an aggressive one. So this is going to take a lot of damage, but he's not going to output too much crazy stuff. I'm also using my strategist as well, just to buff my entire army. And here we go, a nice little close-up of the cinematic of the fighting. So initially, the battle is going to kick off with them just dueling on horse. However, they're both going to end up dismounting and engaging. And this was a really, really cool feature I really loved straight off the bat, is that the soldiers get out the way. They form a bubble around the duel going on, which just looks really amazing from an aerial view. Seeing your generals just fight in a bubble, and then your soldiers forming like a circle around them, having their own little engagements whilst these guys settle their beef on the battlefield. Again, to go ahead and beat on relations, which is really important, especially for this battle. So this is a brother and sister fighting right now. They've got obviously a very tight blood bond with one another, which, you know, they really, really do care about each other. So if my female general or the brother general was to die, the other one would get a huge boost to stats for a short amount of time, basically making them go berserk. They've just seen their best friend, their brother, their sister die, and they're going to go crazy on the battlefield. And that can really help turn the tides of the engagement. You know, if one character goes down, the other one can really fly in and just go crazy and start sending fools flying, which, you know, I thought was a really, really kind of nice way of, again, building and emphasizing these relations. So we didn't find out like what all the different types of relations were, but you know, these were just some of the few that really stood out. And again, I think this is going to be so important, especially if you're constantly sending soldiers off into, like, you know, sending generals off to other factions to spy on them. Oh, and also one of the really interesting things about the spy system as well is if you capture the spy, you know, they don't have enough cover level and you capture them, you can then go ahead and send them back to the other faction as your spy, so like a double agent. It can kind of go back and forth a little bit. I thought that was really cool, as we can see the duel going on in the background as well. As the soldiers fight bravely, the cavalry comes flying into my rear. I mean, the balance of power isn't looking good, and I really need this general to finish off this dude so that she can go off. And I think she's going to go ahead and do a killing blow. Oh, right through the head. She is just smooth with that slash.
Get back up, you.
So as you can see, you know, she won that engagement, she won the duel, and now she can move on and continue fighting. One of the things I didn't end up doing was I didn't end up using a lot of her buffs. She has a really good melee sword engagement buff, which I just didn't use. This is my first time playing, so I definitely could have done better. Using the strategist to help boost up the men and their morale and their stats. That's really what the strategist is going to do. I mean, I really do like the way that it's just global effects. Everyone in his aura gets buffed. I really hate the ones where you have to pop them off on individual units. I just personally like to click and send them in and you know, charge on. You can see this is one of the enemy generals now. The other one who came onto the field, running in and doing some pretty naughty damage to my infantry. You can see her just going ham right there, cutting people down. She's amazing. She really is my MVP. There you go. She's just been slain on the battlefield. It kind of took me a bit off guard, as you can see. And that's going to be horrific. And my general is now going to be enraged. You see he does that little speech right there. And that's also something which is pretty entertaining. The generals speak to one another a lot more, and as their relationship, as they have multiple battles against one another, as they do multiple actions against one another, they're going to build up this reputation between, you know, their kind of, I guess, their opinion of one another, and that's going to affect all these little cool speeches. And I think it's just a really nice way to build up the relationship between one another and make you care about these generals. You know, be like, oh, I fought this guy and he killed my sister. I'm going to get him back and I'm going to kill him and I'm going to slay him, and you'll be able to hear your general saying that. So after losing my main general, you can see that I'm in a frantic rush. The battle is basically over. My men are being cut to pieces after losing the general, and I think I've had enough of this engagement. I'm going to try and get my other brother out of this. I no longer want to lose both of my characters to this engagement, so I'm simply just going to retreat my characters, live to fight another day, and avenge my sister. You can see the enemy cavalry coming in, doing plenty of damage to my formation. Barely standing up against the enemy forces, and I'm in full-on retreat. Again, I love the way that you can still see from the bird's eye view all the flags just fluttering on the ground. It just kind of, for me as a Westerner, I don't know, it kind of makes me get really, really immersed in the environment. I don't know if that's ignorant or what, kind of just seeing stuff like that. It's the same with like Japanese warfare. Seeing all these flags up, I don't know, maybe as a Westerner through Hollywood, that's kind of just what really entices me, but it's awesome. I definitely do love it. So yeah, I do not want my general to fight this guy. He's a strategist. He needs to get the hell out of there, and I'm going to retreat him from the battlefield. I'm giving up. The battle has been lost. My sister has been slain to the ambush, and I'm going to be out of there. One of the really awesome things this is going to do is it's going to go ahead and make my opinion of this guy awful. It's going to make me want to get vengeance on him. So next time when I interact with this guy, I'll be saying different voice lines. I'll have different stuff to do on the campaign map against him, and I'll be able to fight him to the death if I so need to. Now, obviously, I don't want to because he's a strategist and he's not really great, but maybe my father or someone else will also now gain this trait to want to kill this guy who killed his daughter and obviously this guy's sister. So it will go ahead and create a better dynamic between these guys. And imagine that on a campaign level where you have, you know, 10, 15 generals. You're going to have loads of characters now because you're going to have you're going to have 3 or 4 in an army. I believe there's 21 units in an army, and generals and bodyguards can also have multiple, not just 4 or 5 units. I think some of them can range pretty high up, so you can have like half an army under one general, etc. Which is, you know, again, pretty crazy. And imagine just going back to this spy mechanic of having, you know, multiple lieutenants underneath a general in an army. Maybe they can revolt and take over that army. There's just a ton of really, really cool stuff. And there we have it. 3 Kingdoms Total War. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to drop a like and a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of my gameplay. Let me know what you thought of the mechanics I talked about, especially that spy mechanic. I'd be very, very interested to find out what you guys have to say on that. that because I think it is really, really interesting and is going to really kind of change the way that the campaign is fought on and change the way that, that characters interact with everyone. I'm definitely very pleasantly surprised, honestly, because, like, you know, that was a ton of fun, and I was not expecting to have that much fun playing a battle like that. Granted, do keep in mind that was obviously a scripted battle by Creative Assembly. They would have designed that battle to be shown to loads and loads of people. Obviously, that was me playing it, but just keep that in mind that, you know, they're going to be showing the best parts of the game and talking about the best parts of the game. So just keep that in mind whilst you're seeing all this other stuff from Gamescom, etc., etc. But yeah, as I mentioned, let me know what you guys thought of the gameplay down below. I'd be really interested to find out what you guys have to say. Has this changed your mind? Are you more likely going to buy Free Kingdoms? Are you going to wait for more information on it? I'll also try and answer some questions down below. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.